5 weight loss mistakes that men over 50 are making that are preventing most men from being able to successfully lose weight and reverse disease. Jumping right into it with mistake number 1, focusing on their weight. A scale will not tell you how much muscle versus how much fat you're losing. And those of you who are going to say, oh, but wait a minute, Janina, I have a BMI scale. Nope, throw that out the window too. Those are going to give you more confusion about what's really happening. You just want to use a tape measure, because what you want to focus on, guys, is not how much you weigh. More important, the neck. Your neck measurement will let you know how healthy you are. If your neck size for a shirt is 17 inches or above, you've got a problem. Most people will call sleep apnea. If you've been diagnosed or you haven't been diagnosed, doesn't matter. If your neck is 17 inches or above, you have sleep apnea. You take that measurement 1 inch below the Adam's apple. 1 millimeter of loss to your neck is equivalent to losing 1 inch from your belly fat. This is how important your neck size is. A client of mine, and you can see him here on March 17th of this year. You see his neck here? Now take a look at him just a few weeks later. Can you guys see a difference here on how much less inflamed he is? He's swollen here. Not good, not healthy. So when he goes to bed at night, he's choking. Just a few weeks later, look at how much less inflammation he has. If you're a man over the age of 50 and you already know that you want to get rid of the belly fat so that you can reverse disease without any fad diets or crazy workouts, there's a button below so you can take advantage of a free 5-day jump start directly with me. More on that at the end of this webinar, but I do understand if you're short on time. For those that can stay, let's move on to the 5 weight loss mistakes. Let's go to number 2 problem, working from the outside in. When people are actually working from the outside in, what they're doing is they have a health problem over here and they're taking a medication over here. Or they have fat and they're taking a pill or a potion to help get rid of that fat. That means working from the outside in. I'm telling you right now, stop wasting your time. The problem isn't from the outside in. The problem you want to work is from the inside out. If this were a pond and you had dirty water in here and you threw chlorine into it to clean up the pond, it would make the pond look better, but the crap would still be in there. The better thing to do is don't try to add chemicals to cover up what's going on. Some examples, and I'm going to choose Dr. Mendel because he's got almost 10 million subscribers. He's giving you this concoction of honey, cinnamon, olive oil, and lemon. He wants you to put this concoction together and he wants you to drink it. That's working from the outside in. Don't waste your time doing that because you're not tackling the real cause of your problem. You're trying to cover it up just like somebody with a green pool who's adding chlorine to make it look pretty and blue. Well, he's doing it the natural way. So people think, oh, well, that must be better because it's natural. No, you're still not solving the core problem that's causing the issue. It says 1 shot a day, clear clogged arteries away. If this were true, Dr. Mendel would win a Nobel Peace Prize. Now let's go to the glucose goddess. Here's what her video says. This exercise burns the most fat. If my brother Ray, the bodybuilder, were standing next to me, he would say, she's wrong. The exercise doesn't burn fat. I go to the exercise to gain muscle. The only way you're going to see that muscle, though, is if you get the fat off of it, and that's not done at the gym. Let's go on to this. Exercise and eat for health. This is Dr. Andrew Huberman. I chose for this because he is one of the top 5 health podcasters in the world. Be aware of what you hear out on the internet because all of these people here are going to end up wanting to sell you a supplement. Another way they make their money. AG1. This is a green drink that Dr. Huberman, when you watch this 3-hour-long podcast, he's going to continually tell you how he takes AG1 himself. For every episode that he makes of a podcast, he can make $30,000 of a kickback from this company of AG1. But he's making $30,000 of an episode to give you a free 3-hour webinar, but he's pushing that crap. You don't drown by falling in the water. You drown by staying in the water. And that's what Dr. Huberman is doing. He's promoting you to put more crap in your body rather than solving the problem. So please don't drown yourself by staying in this cesspool here. If you haven't had a kidney problem yet, and I say yet, if you're taking a lot of supplements and medications, you will have one eventually. They're the filter for what is necessary to keep you healthy. So don't wait for the kidneys to scream out for help. The help that you want to know about is when your blood pressure starts going up, when your cholesterol starts going up, when your blood sugar starts going up. Those are the earlier signs. But I guarantee you, all those people taking those potions, they're going to end up with some serious complications as they age. Mistake number 3 is that people don't have the owner's manual. We didn't get the owner's manual, but you would think us in the medical industry would get the owner's manual for the body. This is the rude awakening. We didn't in the medical industry get the owner's manual for it either. The medical industry can be easily bought. And that's what Big Pharma did. They put a hand into what we learn, how we learn it, and how we practice when we get out. And that keeps us in what I call the silo, meaning we all stay in our own lane and we don't talk to each other enough to help the patient for the best outcome. And me being an eye doctor, my job was to make sure my patients didn't go blind from type 2 diabetes. So I would tell the diabetics, if you just diet and exercise, things would be better. Wrong. This is my brother, Ray. He was a canine officer all of his career, picture of him on the right, because he was also a bodybuilder, where he dieted to a T so that he could have abs like that in his 60s. Most canine officers have to go to a desk job at some point in their career because they can no longer keep up with the animal. He was able to stay as a canine officer all throughout his career until the day he retired because he was able to keep up with a 4-legged animal who could run really fast. If you think that dieting and exercising is going to be your answer to solving your healthcare problems, I'm here to tell you it's not true. You don't have to look like this to be healthy, and you shouldn't expect to look like this and to be healthy. Those are 2 very different things. But here's the problem. My brother that you're looking at here ended up with type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and prostate cancer. All things that people who look like this and live a life where they don't smoke, don't drink, they don't even drink coffee, don't drink alcohol. When it comes down to it, why are these things happening to them? And no, it's not genetics. He started with acid reflux first. Then his blood pressure was a problem. Then his cholesterol was a problem. He was told, well, because you're at that age, right? Well, then when he became type 2 diabetic, the doctor actually didn't tell him he was type 2. The doctor said, oh, you're pre-diabetic. And I want to inform you right now, guys, if you've been told that you're pre-diabetic, you're diabetic. There is no pre here. Unfortunately, the medical industry is really late to the game when it comes to health. And when it came down to it, the prostate cancer. I thought my brother, when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, was going to ask me for help, but he didn't. He continued on the path until he ended up having adrenal fatigue. And the adrenal fatigue came from stress. If you have stress in your life, that can knock you on your butt just as bad as somebody who sits on the couch and just watches Netflix all day. So what ended up happening is my brother, whose wife, her father ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. The father had to move in with my brother and his wife, and he died within a 2-year period. So that was a traumatic experience. Then they wanted to move to Hawaii, and they sold their house, got ready to move to Hawaii, and the escrow fell apart because the guy that was buying the house had a stroke. So all this happened at the last minute when they're getting ready to move, and not only move to Hawaii, but move to a quote unquote fixer-upper. He ended up having so much stress that his batteries gave out on him. And that's an easy way to put it, but what it's called is adrenal fatigue. When he got to this point where he couldn't even make it up flight of stairs, when he got to that point, he knew something was really wrong. And that's when he reached out for my help. If you choose to go down the wrong path, it doesn't matter how hard you work at it, you're still going to fail. And by failure, I mean what happened to my brother and what happened to my father. Some of you might have seen my video regarding my father. He's a senior Olympian in road bike cycling, and he continued to work out with weights all throughout his life. At 82 years of age, he went to Cuba so that he could ride his bicycle across Cuba the long way. He celebrated his 82nd birthday on this trip. What he did not know is that he was brewing a heart attack. He made a mention to me and said, when I get on my bicycle and I get up to 21 miles per hour, I feel a little pinch right here, this area on my heart. So long story short, he ends up having to unfortunately undergo a four-way bypass. He didn't even want my brothers to know that he had to have a four-way bypass because for my father, it meant a weakness in him. He had exercised all of his life, became a senior Olympian in road bike cycling, but yet here he was having to have a four-way bypass. It was, why did I spend all my time exercising all my life, going to bed early, avoiding alcohol, avoiding coffee, and still end up, and of course, avoiding smoking, ending up like this? So when he was in the hospital, he asked me, he says, why did this happen to me? Now, most doctors might say it's genetics. No, that was incorrect. I took a deep dive into answering my father's questions without hanging my hat on genetics because I've seen how my family members lived and realized, nope, this cannot be being dealt a bad hand with genetics. So here's what I ended up realizing, and that is that we humans do not get the owner's manual to our body because without the owner's manual, we don't really know how to fix it when things are going wrong. We didn't get the owner's manual, but you would think us in the medical industry would get the owner's manual for the body. This is the rude awakening. We didn't in the medical industry get the owner's manual for it either. Here's the important reason why you need the owner's manual. Because your body has tools inside built in to help you, but you don't know how to access those tools. Because without the owner's manual, you don't know how the body works, so you don't know how to work it for your benefit. So here's the tools I'm talking about. Various organs, brain, the heart, the lungs, the kidney, the liver, the intestines. There's a lot more going on in your body, but I'm putting these as the main tools that you have at your disposal in order to help you reverse disease and get rid of belly fat. You just have to know how to tap into those. 85% of what goes wrong with a human body can be taken care of on your own without the help of a doctor because we were built to be a species that lasts. That's why we're here thousands of years later as humans on this earth. I love emergency medicine doctors because they sew us up when we need to get sewn up, or they put bones back together when bones need to get put back together. But for 85% of what goes wrong and ails you now can be handled on your own. When you have a health problem, it's like an iceberg. You notice what's going on, and that's what's up here. What's really happening, though, is way down below the waterline that you do not see. And guess who else doesn't see that? Doctors. Unfortunately, doctors are working up here on the symptoms of what's happening and ignoring all of the iceberg down below here where the problem could actually be solved. If you had a flat tire on your car, how many times are you going to keep airing it up before you figure out that you need to plug up a hole in the tire? Plugging that hole that's letting the air out, that's the core problem. Airing up the tire, it's only a temporary fix. So the hole in the tire is down here. The loss of tire pressure is up here. So let's refer that to what we would consider a doctor prescribing you blood pressure medication. You come in and they say, Mr. Jones, your blood pressure is 185 over 90. That is too high. What is the doctor going to do? Focus on the symptom of the high blood pressure. So they're going to prescribe you medication. My client, Mr. Bill, he ended up having blood pressure pills prescribed to him for almost a decade. And because he's a veteran, he was given the blood pressure medications through the VA. So he didn't have to pay for them. So he just took them every day like his doctors told him to do. He came into the program not to solve his blood pressure problem. He came in to solve this belly fat problem that you see here. Some of you might have seen my testimonial video with my clients, and he stood up, and this is him in that same shirt. You can see that he lost the belly fat. But here's the important thing. He came into the program, and within 4 months, he solved his high blood pressure problem. Just 4 months. So here he had been taking blood pressure medications almost a decade. And here we are solving his problem 4 months, done. No more blood pressure medication. And why? Because we were focused on this part of the problem here, not the blood pressure up on top of the surface. Problem number 4, it's all of the marketing on your cell phone, on your computers, on your laptops, and mainstream media. Everyone's trying to put you in the mindset that you need their solution, which typically is a pill or a potion. And when I say potion, I mean things like supplements. And when I say potion, I mean things like AG1, the powders, green drinks, all of that. Stop listening to all that marketing noise and start listening to your body. Here's an example. Add this to your coffee. One of my pet peeves. I don't know if you guys have heard of bulletproof coffee. There are people who tell you to put stuff in your coffee so that you can get into ketosis. That's another gimmick that is just unfortunately having you pedal off in the wrong direction. Here's another one. 1 tablespoon burns fat. If Dr. Lee or Dr. Lai had this 1 tablespoon that actually burns fat, he would be a billionaire today. And here's another one. 5 high-protein snacks that crush cancer and burn fat. If you think you can snack your way to burning fat, that's stupidity at its finest if you believe that one. But this is a simple common sense. I could ask a 3rd grader that question. A 3rd grader would say, no, probably snacking is not a good idea. If I wanted to snack, my mom would say, wait for dinner. Simple, done. Cannot believe it's 2025 and we've got crap like this on the internet. What you want to see is transformation. You don't need more information. So this is another client of mine, Dawn. This is him before and after. And you can tell he was the same as my other client who was inflamed because you can see the difference in his face. But on this picture, you can actually see how good his neck looks and burning fat in the areas that you need to so you can chisel the body into the form that best suits how you'll look your best. Back in the day when I was in private practice, I'm going to go way back, aerobics, Zumba, and then came what? CrossFit. And then we have people doing rucking, which is, backpacks and climbing up hills. The idea of this all is to not focus on the wrong things. And I want you to focus on the transformation of the neckline and the transformation of the belly. You focus on that and you'll know whether you're going in the right direction or the wrong direction, and you're going to know it pretty quick. So you can stop wasting time. Ignorance is a curable disease. Now, I suffered from this disease when I was in private practice because when somebody gives you a degree and you're a doctor, you tend to think that you know it all. And I was ignorant when I was in private practice, thinking that telling my patients to diet and exercise was a good option for them to help them to reverse some of their diabetes. I also worked with a lot of patients that had cardiovascular disease, and it was the same spiel, exercise and diet. Back then, as an eye doctor, I didn't believe that we could actually cure ourselves of high blood pressure or cardiovascular disease and even cancers. I believed all of that was a bad roll of the dice and we were destined. So here's where I'm going to say I was part of that ignorant group. And thank God for my father asking me, why did he have to have a 4-way bypass when he exercised all of his life? Thank God for that question, because now I'm no longer ignorant. So I want you to be aware that ignorance is curable. But the medical industry is not going to want you to think this. This is why you see so many commercials on mainstream media about this pill or that pill, because the medical industry is driven by the pharmaceutical industry. There's a lot of money to be made in medical procedures and in medical devices and in prescription drugs. And it is an ugly side of the medical environment today, but you don't have to stay ignorant. You can learn what you need to learn to solve 85% of whatever ails you at this point. 85% is a conservative number. I really feel I could have put 90% there. The other 10% are those rare things that happen. How do you feel now knowing 85 to 90% of what you've got going wrong, you can take care of yourself at home on your own, without drugs and without surgery? Where did my dad and my brother go wrong? One of the things is that they assumed that because they looked good on the outside, that they were good on the inside. And I want you to understand that you do not judge a book by its cover. And I want you to understand the reverse of that. You don't want to judge this fat guy over here and thinking he's unhealthy. And here's why. Did you know that your fat could be a storage reservoir for toxins? That's what it was for Steve Wozniak. The reason he's not dead from cancer like his co-founder for Apple is because his fat was where the toxins from working with computers was stored to keep it away from more important organs. But yes, we do have to get rid of some of that fat so that you can be healthier, but doing it in a way when you know how your body functions to do what's right for you to live the longest, healthiest, happiest life is what's important. They were both working on their bodies, not in their bodies. This is what I want you guys to understand. You can work in your body very easily, and you don't need to do that at the gym. An hour of properly focused thinking is worth a month of hard work. And in my father's case and my brother's case, unfortunately, these men spent decades doing things that they thought were heading them in the right direction for good health. And it was a rude awakening to find out it wasn't true. Can exercise help you? To kick the can down the road. It doesn't prevent disease, but it can defer disease. So what my brother and my father didn't know is they were inflamed inside of their bodies, internally. We could have solved that problem had we been looking at labs, not in the way doctors do, but in the way I teach my clients now to do, which is looking for leading indicators, not lagging indicators. But thanks for them living that lifestyle and me being in the medical industry, putting all this together was how I was able to come up with the program I've come up with for my clients so that you, number one, don't waste time doing things that don't work. Number two, you are able to reverse disease rather than relying on medications and procedures from the medical industry. You need to track what results you're getting. And if you haven't lost or gone down at least one pant size in whatever you've been doing, you're wasting your time. Because my average is going down 2 pant sizes within a 6-month period. 2 pant sizes in 6 months or less. Do you need a jump start so that you can get going in the right direction? Whatever it is you need is what a jump start is. Let me give you an example. If you go out to your car to start your engine and it won't turn over, me bringing you a gallon of gas isn't going to do a hill of beans of difference for you. So this is where you got to take a look under the hood. What I'm offering you is that jump start. Now the next step is seeing what it is that you need from where you're at this very moment so you can get on the road quickly and efficiently to your goal. The 5-day one-on-one jumpstart is built to do just that. 45-minute call each. And on those 5 days, we're doing exactly what it is you need from where you're at right now so you can actually see that I can help you. Because I can't prove that I can help you by showing you my clients, because you guys might think, oh, well, those guys are different. They're not me. Let me show you that I can actually help you by actually helping you. And then you can decide if you want to go further than the 5 days. But at least this way I can show you in a 5-day period and helping you where you're at. So I will put a link to that. Don't know when you'll watch this video, if that will still be available. On the link, you'll know if you click into it. If I didn't get to see you live, hopefully this was information that will serve you into the future.